All right, YouTube Nation, welcome back to the hangar. So I'm kind of working on the SU-27 programming. I had to pull everything, I had to unplug everything from the power system, check it, because some stuff was just, I'd lost track of what it all was, honestly. So I unplugged everything, and I actually, so I didn't damage stuff, having like throws off too far. And something I noticed with what I have set up, the flaps servo here, the arm, if you have this rudder on with the screw that's right here that tightens down on the clamp, if you use the stock and you set it up like I do, it actually hit that screw tip and bent the arm that is bolted to the end of this L shaft, and it just basically it pushed it away from, because those servos have like over 1,000 ounce, whatever they are. I know they're like 1,000 ounces or some crap. They're those high voltage futaba servos, and it bent the arm a little bit to allow it to move around it. Not bad. It just kind of bent it like this. It didn't twist it or anything. It didn't bind it. I have a ball end on the end of it, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'll straighten it if I need to. It still moves just fine. Just be cognizant that because when I looked in there, the clamp, it has about 1/4 of an inch of the screw sticking past, so it hit. So that's why I just decided to go ahead and disconnect everything and just plug it into my servo tester and see what each thing was and label it with some tape. And I've just went through and started plugging individual things up and working on them. So what I've been working on today, and let me put this thing on my head to make it easier here. Give me a second, bear with me. So I've been working on the canopy, and I had to go through and sand these a little bit because they were catching, and it was like it would go down just fine, but then it wouldn't come up. These were hanging, so I did a little getting rid of sharp corners and putting some angles on things just to make it move and go down into things and come out easier, and did some adjustment. So because this has so many channels, and futaba in their infinite wisdom is just trying to get to a point where they actually have more than 18 channels. You got an 18 channel that's really 16 channels with 2 digital channels, so that gives you 18. And then the 32 channel was still the same 18 channels without adding extra things. So they originally started giving you extra channels by using these little MPDX ones. And now they've made it where you can do 2 or 3 receivers together to get 26 channels. Before, you could add like 2 of these and get like 32 channels, but they're not really full proportional channels. They're good for little things like valves and linear actuators and stuff, but to run a full servo off that, you really couldn't do it. So to get a full proportional setup where you can run 26 channels, 26 servos, and have the power, they're essentially using 3 receivers linked together, and that's a part of the new programming in the radios. This one, I didn't do that, so I needed just like 4 or 5 extra channels to cover all the items that I have. And so I added one of these MPDX ones. Let me get my phone just so I know you guys are seeing what I am seeing. Yeah. Okay. So let me just, yeah, that's pretty good. All right. So let me zoom in here. If I'm not, I can't tell. It doesn't look like I'm zoomed. But so I don't have one to show you, so I got the instructions just so you can kind of see what these things are. They're just these little boxes that you can plug in, and they use the let me get my little pointer here wherever that's at. They use the multi-prop kind of channel to give you some expanded programming. So I put all the essential stuff like gear controller, canopy, and things like that parachute mechanism and all that stuff, which I think the parachutes actually run off the power system, but anyways. So to get these extra channels, I'll go to function here, just linkage menu, function, and you'll see your normal futaba stuff here. And bear with me, I know it's hard to see, but you got your 1 through 12 on the first page, but if you look, you got the multiprop 1 and multiprop 2. That's what you have to use to get that MPDX extra features. So if you had 2 of these bad boys, you would do channel 12, MP, multiprop 1, and 13 or 11. So 11 and 12, you use those 2 multiprops. But I only did 1, so I selected multiprop 1. So if you go in here and you hit the multiprop channel, now you can see 1 through 8, channels 1 through 8, which are the 8 channels that the MPDX has one. And this is where you set the control of like canopy and the valves and stuff. So SI, SE, SD for these 2, because the 3 and 4, I only needed 4 apparently. So 4 extra channels. So SI is the brake, which I got to figure that out. I may not be able to use it. I may just have to put it on its own channel, and because it's plugged into the gear controller / failsafe sequencer. There's supposed to be a way for it to control your brakes too, but we'll see. But SE is the actual brake gear up and down. Anyway, so that's where you assign the switches. So at that point, it's like, okay, well, I need to adjust endpoints and all that junk. So to do that, they work just like a normal servo at that point. There is no sub-trim. I wish there was, but you'll see that channel 12 has no sub-trim. So all you're getting is curves. Only thing you get curves. You get endpoints. That's really all you're getting, which is another problem to this. So you go to endpoint, page over, and there you go. Channel 12 has your MP multiprop channels, and here are your endpoints. So it's got some limitations, obviously. So what I did is I set the canopy, close, and lock on one switch, and I achieved this by using a 3-position switch. So let me turn it on here. That's those things centering. But so up, canopy's up. These are back, so the little grooves are not blocking anything. So first position brings the canopy down. All right. And then because I have no center point adjustment, those linear actuators for the locks move forward just a little bit, not blocking anything. And then this third position is the locking cylinders moving forward on those little pins. So now it is locked. So to unlock it, and you'll see the canopy jump a little bit because you got to kind of push it down to make sure they lock. So, oh, I did it too quick. Huh. Well, there you go. Sorry about that. All right, so, and those linear actuators, those small ones, those PC12s, they kind of suck for anything because they hunt. Like they get to the end and then they're just like, oh, I'm not quite at my end point, and then I go. The regular ones, man, they move and they have like a small little endpoint that they kind of do to kind of get to the extreme endpoints. But these, it takes a second, so that's why you hear the noise. But so center position is unlock. There, and you see the canopy move up a little bit, and then third position goes up. So instead of having 2 switches and an extra sequencer, I just just be cognizant of it. Mid position brings the canopy down, and then lock. And what I did, let it hush up, make a noise, is I adjusted the endpoint on the lock position, and I had to cut it way down to get that because it was pushing the slider too far and it would, you know, obviously binding up. So you just cut the end point travel down to move that slider back to allow, you know, the actual perfect lock that you need. So I moved them, I went all the way down to 30, closed it, and you could see a gap between the front of the L there that it locks into. So I just started going up. I went from 30 up to 65%, and that filled the gap and got a complete lock. Same thing for the other one, 70%, complete lock. So that's how I achieved the canopy here. So unlock and then open. And it still sticks a little bit, so I'm actually probably going to take the file. It's sticking on this back side, you know, because this thing kind of moves a little bit. So let's see. Come back down. Well, that's making some noise. Alright, there you go. Anyway, so unlock. There you go. Just have to pause a little bit to give those the time to kind of come back. So, but that's a lot about nothing. So that's all I got done so far. And I got to check pictures. This comes way up. I don't know how high, but I mean, I think I actually looked at that. I think that's actual how their canopy opens, like way up. So I think that's right based on the angles I could find of pictures. So anyways, that kind of gives you an idea of how to use these MPDX ones. So now what I got to do is I've got to, you can hear it moving. That's the brake valve. I've got to figure out the brake valve with this. And then of course the gear, which will be this one, you can hear it moving. I don't know why it's got a pulse on it. I may have put a pulse on the valve, but that's gear up and gear down. Yeah, you can see it moving there. And it's controlling the valves based on how this thing's programmed. So I got to program this now based on the switch. But that's it for now, guys. Not a lot. That's the beauty of this. I just work a little, and when I get tired or want to go do something else, I just take a break, man. I learned after last summer that like force feeding this and just working and stressing myself out just was taking the joy out of it. So, and I've talked about that. But I did get the bling in for the F-15 here. I ordered, actually it's right here. I actually hadn't had any of these, but they're 8 to 6 step downs reducers. I really like these because the MAPs, the high flow MAPs, come with a step down, but the inner diameter of that step down is much smaller than these. So I'm going to start using these on my high flow systems. I got some just stocking up on 6 mil, and this is these high flow T's that I'm going to put in here. I'm just replacing, there's the new tank. I'm going to plug this and put, let me find them right here. So these are going to be my vents. These are obviously much larger than they need to be, but you can't go wrong with good vents. It just keeps pump pressures down. And I tell people, you know, yeah, this thing had not even really 4 millimeter. I mean, because this hole is so poorly, I even drilled it out some. That is like 3 millimeters, not even 3 millimeters. So when you could just blow on it or suck, suck on that, like put a tube on it and suck on it a little bit, you can watch the tank collapse just because it's so restrictive. So this is going to go drill a little hole just enough to get it screwed on, keeping it nice and tight, and screw this bad boy on with some high saw, and it'll be, you know, even if it does leak a little bit, which it's not going to, it's sucking air, which is what it's supposed to do anyway. So the only time you might, if it does start leaking, is when you're filling it up. It might get some leak at that point. But like I said, this will be nice and tight, because you look at the MAP UATs, they have metal fittings on them that don't leak anyways. So this will be perfect, because these will sit in here, and this will be on the outside for my vent. So that is the plan. There, and putting a DLP2 in, 2 receivers, futaba gyro, just like the SU's got. Gonna run 2 of these 3500 milliamp ions to power the system for all the servos, and then I have got to get, although I do have a bunch of batteries, I need to get a battery. I don't have a 3-cell for the 160. The Zyco 160 actually uses a 3-cell versus a 2-cell, like the 120s, the 90s, and the 45s all use 2 cells. So anything above the 120 switches to a 3-cell LiPo as primary, with an alternate of a 9.9 life. So there you go. But getting there. All right, guys. So that's kind of a 16 minutes. I apologize. But you guys have a good one. I'm probably going to go grab a beer, and I don't know, it's Saturday night. Maybe I'll come back out here and do some more. I don't know. We'll see. Cheers.